Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This is the time and place set for the regular May 2026 Royal Oak Planning Commission meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order at this time and ask everybody up here to introduce themselves for the record, starting down on my right.
Meg Truba, Director of Community and Economic Development.
Charlene Douglas.
Brian Cooper. Joseph Murphy, Director of Planning.
Josh Markham, City Attorney's Office.
Woody Gantina, City Commissioner.
Jim Allison.
Mike Fournier, Mayor.
Travis Moore.
And I'm Gary Casano, the chairperson. All right, we'll get started here. The first order on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for April 14th, 2026. Have the commissioners had a chance to look at these meeting minutes, and do they have questions or corrections, comments regarding these minutes, or a motion?
I'll move approval.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the April 14th meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I will second.
Second by Mr. Cooper. Is there discussion further? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to call for the vote to approve the April 14 meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. The meeting minutes are approved. All right. Next is the, let me just say this. Does anybody else, does anybody want to add anything to the agenda before we go further? Okay, seeing none. The next order of business is the public comment. If you are a member of the public and wish to speak on something other than the 4 agenda items, this is the time to come on up, introduce yourself, and give us your presentation. Come on up.
Folks, I'm Shane Zimmer. I live on Cherry Avenue. Recently, you guys, I came last night. Recently, you guys approved an ice cream shop on my street. I just wanted to revisit and see, I don't think the parking situation is going to meet zoning. As an ice cream shop, I believe there's going to be significantly more than 6 people in that parking lot at any given time. Overflow parking then hits Cherry Avenue. Cherry Avenue, if there are double side street parked, we're going to be a one-way street. There's a few elderly folk on my street who have ambulances come relatively often. I'd say probably once a quarter. I can't imagine losing a neighbor or a grandfather or a family member because my house is on fire or because an ambulance wasn't able to get to where they needed to be to save somebody's life. I think it's pretty unsafe. I'll just say I would request and see potentially traffic studies, if they've been done, on where that overflow parking would go, if that does exist. And then secondarily, I think we've reached out a little bit and we were kind of told that if parking is really a significantly bad situation, we can ask for permit parking. I'll just say I don't know how that benefits or helps congestion. Do you guys plan on having a cop there enforcing that at all times? Because obviously in the summer hot months when it's 90, people want ice cream. So I don't think permits help. They don't necessarily do anything for the residents. Yeah, just wanted to come in, say that I think this should be revisited, especially just because I don't think traffic flow is going to be safe for that street. Appreciate you guys' time. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on a non-agenda item? Come on up, introduce yourself, and get 3 minutes to give us a presentation.
My name is Patrick Linsdau from 503 Cherry Avenue. I also brought a handout for each of you that I wanted to be given to on the record. I'm here to speak in opposition of 620 Cherry Avenue. I think that a special land use should have been held. I want to go through a couple of things, but the 2 words I really want to focus on is immediate consumption. By the law, what creates a special land use is immediate consumption. I don't know anything more immediately consumable than melting ice cream in 90 degrees. So with that said, neighborhood business concerns. The purpose of the neighborhood business zoning district is to allow limited retail and service-oriented businesses compatible with adjacent residential neighborhoods. If ice creams or similar ready-to-eat products are sold, the business involved food intended for immediate consumption would restrict this. An ice cream business serving ready-to-eat products creates high customer turnover, traffic, parking demand, congestion, and pedestrian activity directly adjacent to homes. A special land use and notification should have been sent out. The zoning ordinance distinguishes food establishments and outdoor cafe services involving immediate consumption. Residents should have received proper notice and the opportunity for a special land use hearing. Nearby residents were not adequately informed or involved at all in this process. Parking and site design concerns. The building is approximately 1,500 square feet. City parking standards require approximately 1 parking space per 100 square feet, non-restaurant definition. Approximately 900 square feet were carved out or reconfigured to reduce parking requirements and make the proposal fit the site. Even after these modifications, only 6 parking spaces are provided. The 6 spaces will likely barely offset employee parking needs, leaving inadequate parking for customers. The proposal appears constrained by the limitations of the property rather than the property designed for the intended use. Landscaping and traffic flow concerns. Required landscaping areas were removed to create enough space for two-way traffic circulation. Rather than redesigning the site appropriately, landscaping and buffering requirements appear to have been sacrificed. This raises concerns regarding safe circulation, neighborhood appearance, and compatibility with nearby homes. Public safety concerns. The Planning Commission did not sufficiently consider the safety impact on nearby children, elderly residents, and pedestrians. Additional traffic and congestion on a residential street creates avoidable safety risks. At Crooks Road, we already have an issue with people dodging the 12-mile light, flying down Cherry Avenue, so now we're going to have that mixed with this added seasonal business traffic. And just the lack of the neighborhood communication. And during that planning commission, there were people there in support of the business, obviously with the petitioner, and even they addressed, they'll bring their lawn chair there. They commended you for seeing the need to find a fix for these benches. So you guys are trying to help them do an immediate consumption in that definition. And I just really want to focus on you guys using the words maneuvering, contort, or unreasonable conditions, and focus on the residents.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wants to come up to speak on any non-agenda items, including the Cherry Street one if you want to, but other non-agenda items, you're welcome to come up. All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and we're going to go to, it says unfinished business. Do we have unfinished business? Okay, no unfinished business. Next is new business. Public hearing. A, public hearing, rezoning from Central Business District to Planned Unit Development, SP 26-05-06. Mr. Murphy.
Tonight's public hearing on the request to rezone, as you noted, the site which is directly adjacent to us at City Hall and adjacent to the courthouse from the Central Business Zoning District to Planned Unit Development, or PUD. And that's to, again, it's an amendment to the map which is associated with the zoning ordinance. So ultimately, you are making a recommendation tonight to the City Commission, and the City Commission must change or amend the zoning ordinance at a later date. In December of 2024, you did provide site plan and special land use approval for a 6-story multifamily building with 59 units and 63 parking spaces. The petitioner has returned. They have a modified proposal for you. It is still multiple family residential building, but it contains, only 4 stories now, and it measures 49 feet to its roof line. It has fewer units, it's 45 units, and there are 39 parking spaces associated with the development. The building has virtually no setbacks from its east, west, and north property line, and it sits right at the south property line. The Planning Commission does have discretion over the setbacks during your course of review tonight. I'll go through some of the renderings that the petitioner has provided so that it clearly demonstrates what they're proposing to build. The site plan, again, the ground floor is the parking and the lobby for the building. The entrance to the parking underneath the building is exclusively from what is now the adjacent drive aisle to the city's Civic Plaza straight outside the front doors of City Hall. There is no more entrance or exit along 3rd Street. There are numerous deviations from the zoning ordinance provisions that if you agree to them, they'll be acknowledged in the development agreement that's associated with this rezoning request, and those deviations are shown on the screen, and they include deviations from the maximum allowable height, again the setbacks, as well as the screening along the east property line and the minimum number of required parking spaces. The petitioner has chosen the planned unit development approval process, again different from what they had approval from you in December of 2024. They are offering, as a condition of their planned unit development request, what they are defining as community benefits. And those are provided in their letter to you and shown on the screen in the commission chambers. You'll see they've referenced meeting some criteria that they believe is associated with environmental sustainability, attainable housing, and labor and economic development. I'll note, but I'll let them elaborate further, that their project is providing 100%, all of the units, or 100% of the units are attainable housing. So that's a limit. The household that lives in every one of those units can make no more than 120% of the area median income. And they've also noted that at least 31 of the units in the development will be reserved for people that make no more than 60% of area median income. So quite a bit less than that, what's typically defined as attainable housing. With that, I'll answer any questions that you have, and I'll leave their presentation slides for when they come up and provide you some commentary.
All right. Are there questions for Mr. Murphy from the commissioners? All right. Hearing none, I guess we'll call up the petitioner here. Come on up, introduce yourselves, and tell us why you're entitled to the relief you're seeking.
Good evening, folks. My name is Stephen Drona with Lockwood Companies. We have the presentation up here that we can walk through tonight, but I think Joseph actually covered most all the points that I was going to make. So I'll talk about it a little bit, but more so answer any questions that you have. So what we have in front of you tonight is a scaled down version of the development that has previously come before this board. And that was largely driven by some of the physical challenges to the site that we ran into as we got a little further into our architecture and engineering phase of the project. Particularly, we had 2 floors of underground parking underneath the building. So we ran into some issues with the height of the water table. We also had issues with some of the surrounding utilities that we're going to have to work with DTE to move those to make some space for everything to fit on the site. So as we got through that process of making those changes and eliminating that lower floor of the building, we didn't want to really blow the parking ratios too far out of whack. So we eliminated a floor of the residential as well to go with that, to stay much closer to the original balance that we had projected. So with that, the PUD appeared to be the best plan to bring this forward. So we are very close to those ratios that we had targeted before. We're at 45 units, 39 spaces. There are public garages nearby that we're prepared to work with potential residents if they need spillover parking in those garages. So we think it's a really solid plan. It sticks to the original core idea. We're still maintaining the affordable and workforce housing in the development. We've secured pretty much all the funding and financing ready to go. So we would love to break ground later this year, but we certainly want to make sure that we're addressing any issues or questions that you have.
All right. Are there questions for the petitioner? Mr. Gantino.
You mentioned your community benefits that you are going to be getting the National Green Building certification, silver level. Can you talk a little bit about some of the amenities that are helping you achieve that standard?
Yeah, so we're in the process right now. We brought in a green design consultant to work with our engineering team. So we are pursuing National Green Buildings Silver certification. So that has a lot to do with material selection, indoor air quality, making sure that we're not bringing materials from too far, so reducing some of those transportation costs, making sure that all of the appliances are Energy Star certified, really focusing on the additional weather containment of the building, so making sure it's as efficient as possible. So there's a number of point scoring criteria that you have to achieve to get that National Green Buildings Standard certification. So we're not going for the base level certification, we're going for silver, which is another step above. So we're in the process of working through that right now, and we've brought a national consultant on board to help us make sure that we hit all those points.
And to be clear, it's a third-party validated and third-party validation and certification.
Absolutely, yeah, correct.
Thank you.
Other questions? I'll ask them real quick. One of the things you're asking for is not to put any screening on the east end. Tell me about that. Why no screening over there?
Yeah, if we could bring up, do we have a view of the east end? And our architect is here. I may have to invite him up here if we've got a couple of questions. So I believe that is the west side. So yeah, there we go. So the east side of the building, we do have the parking that comes all the way up to that, as we're trying to maximize the parking in the garage. So on that side of the building, it backs up to landscape trees, essentially. And our architect, Brody, do you have any comments that you can share as far as the lack of...
No, I don't have any additional comments. I mean, I think the brick facade that we have on that side, it's meant to shield the parking from the residents to the east there. Yeah, I think that should be pretty good to block the sound and, any headlights, things like that from our parking.
All right, I got another question, if nobody has a question. The sconce lights, are those wall lights, are those lenses lit, or is the light bouncing off the wall behind? I can't tell from what's on there.
I may need Brody's help on this one again, but the idea is that they would all be down facing at least. But are you showing that they pick up on what you're showing here is them actually bouncing off the building a little bit? Is that what we're...
Yeah, they're just reflecting off the building.
Yeah,
the light is actually contained.
What I find objectionable is when there's a lens, and even if it's a frosted lens, if the light is shooting outward, then it's just in your face. It's not shooting down, or it's not bouncing off the wall. I find those very troublesome. I'm not sure that they're compliant with the code, or with our ordinance, and I just couldn't tell from looking at your renderings and the sheet there how these lights are working.
Yeah, the idea is that they will shine the light down onto the sidewalk, not at eye level out to a passerby on the sidewalk. And do we have the actual one up on the board here? Is this?
Yeah, that one right in the middle is the sconce that would.
Yeah, and I can't tell. Is that like a plastic lens, or is that a metal? What is that? The white part.
Plastic lens. Yeah.
Well, I really can just.
It'll be.
And those are things that we can adjust if that is an issue. I share your concern that I prefer those to be more downward facing. So if that is a condition, that would be totally acceptable on our side.
All right, that's my preference. Not your turn yet, sorry. You'll have a chance. Okay, questions for the petitioner other than me? I have a question for the staff here, for Mr. Murphy. So there was more units before. Was it the same number of parking when it was here before?
No, if you want to look at it in terms of a ratio, the number of parking spaces per dwellings or per dwelling units, it was a 1.1 parking spaces per unit in the version that you approved in December 2024. Today's ratio is less than 1. It's 0.87.
Okay, so the ratio is actually lower.
Correct.
So I'm going to go back to the petitioner. You said something, and I think I missed it. You said there was, how are you going to handle overflow parking?
So there is public garages nearby that we've talked to the city administration about. There's the 11-mile garage not too far from here. So if folks need extra off-site parking spaces, we've talked about securing permits to park in that garage for those spaces, and we will subsidize those for the residents if that's too much of a burden for them.
And I guess I have to ask a question about, you just used the word subsidy. We just heard we can't have this type of housing without a subsidy. Are you applied for this sort of brownfield, or is this something you guys are doing on your own to have 60% and 120%? How are you doing this?
So we're not using the brownfield TIFs that you've probably seen on some of the other projects. This is using the low-income housing tax credits, which we have secured from the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. So those have already been committed, which ties us into a minimum of a 50-year commitment to that affordability period.
Oh, okay. All right. We have that somewhere? Is that something that you're, as part of this PUD, you're committed to that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, do we have this document?
And that would be suggested to add to your motion if it gets to the point where someone wants to make a motion to approve, it would be appropriate to add all of those community benefit provisions to the motion of approval. And again, they've highlighted those in writing, which are shown on the screen. So whichever ones are they're amenable to or agree further upon, but it would be appropriate to, in the suggested motion, to add those to it, again, if the Planning Commission feels it's appropriate to approve the project.
If I could add to that, the City Commission has approved a pilot payment in lieu of taxes arrangement for this development that does secure that in writing. So that is an existing commitment that we are bound to the city on already.
All right. Okay. And just to say, I wasn't here when this came before, and maybe that's why I'm the only one asking questions, but because you guys are familiar with it. But, all right. But are there other questions for the petitioner here? All right. Well, this is a rezoning, so we have a public hearing. Why don't you have a seat, and I think I'll open the public hearing. All right. If there's anybody here in the public, there's somebody right there. Come on up, introduce yourself, and give us a 3-minute presentation. Or less.
Hello, I'm Alex Morford. I'm here today as a resident of Royal Oak and also as a volunteer with YIMBY Oakland County to kindly request that you recommend the rezoning to planned unit development to the City Commission. For more than 50 years, leaders in Royal Oak have recognized the need for affordable homes and have been partnering with home builders who can build them. For example, in the late 1970s and early 1980s, Royal Oak leaders were instrumental in making Barden Towers a reality. Even Barden Towers was not without opposition from a few vocal residents. The meeting minutes show several residents had concerns about parking, traffic, and shadows. But the leaders knew that the right thing to do was to partner with a home builder to build affordable homes, and that the community as a whole was in support. So leaders approved rezoning, vacating a portion of University Avenue, and granting a parking variance. Today, hundreds of our neighbors call Barden Towers home. Tonight, like the leaders who supported Barden Towers, you can make the city a partner and not a blocker in the construction of affordable homes in downtown Royal Oak. There are 45 families who will directly benefit from these homes that we should care about more than a few parking spaces that an outdated arbitrary ordinance calculated. Our new master plan recognizes that our parking calculations need to be updated. There have been many changes that reduce how much parking the average downtown home needs on site, including but not limited to the city building downtown parking garages and improving bike and pedestrian infrastructure, expansion of public transit like the new smart bus route 492, new services providing access to ride sharing on demand like Uber, more access to food and grocery delivery on demand, fewer people per average family, and more folks employed in fully remote jobs. I know Royal Oakers who do not have cars and would live in a home without a parking spot. Only a few families need to forego parking with the parking ratio provided by the home builder. And just to give a scope of some of the distances, it takes about 2 minutes to walk from the 11-mile garage to there, I timed it, and it takes me about 10 minutes to walk from Hollywood Market. So it's easy to get to groceries, it's easy to get to overflow parking. So in closing, I hope you recommend approval of the homes before you today. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Come on up.
Hi.
All right.
My name's Tony Snow, and I'd like to make a comment on that. I would like to ask a little forgiveness in the timeness. I checked out of Henry Ford last Tuesday. I'm having a little bit of a brain issue speaking sometimes, so I may talk a little bit slower than normal.
All right.
So I appreciate the consideration. Before I begin, I'd like to thank you all for your service here. Amazing process. I'd start by thanking the council here for their dedication, hard work. I know a lot of time goes into running Royal Oak. I want you to know that the council does some great things, and one of the great things was the new city hall and police station. I was against that. I think it's wonderful. It wasn't a home run, it was a grand slam. Henry Ford is great. I love the little water park where the kids enjoy with their parents. I drive by there, I see them all the time. And the memorial, I know there was an issue with that, but I think of that and I think of the sacrifice that came into that every time I come by here. So I was dead wrong in that objection, and it's great, I love it. But I think you have to consider this, this proposal, and I think you have to weigh the people that are for and against this. I own the property at 509, which is 2 doors away from this. It's a little 3-unit apartment building. Most of my tenants park in the driveway, but they have company sometimes, and when I'm over there, that street is jammed all day long. There's maybe 1 or 2 spots, and people tend to take 2 spots when they park. I don't know why, but they do. And I also own another building where the Roy was built. I own it on Lafayette, and the Roy published a letter to the residents before they developed that property. I attended that meeting, and they presented their project. The parking was a little bit of an issue there. We had some objections with that. They wanted less, we wanted more. Through the city council, they got to 1.5, and I can tell you I'm there probably 2 to 3 times a week, and there is no issue on parking. None. You can park by that building anytime. And I think sometimes these meetings tend to be a little negative, and I came up with an idea that the city council actually adopted. They had parking on the very main level, and I suggested that they maybe put some storefronts up there. And I know one of the city council members liked that idea. The developer did not. And so, but they did they have 4 storefronts up there, all rented to this day. So I'm sure they've thanked the city council at some point in time, but I'm waiting for my phone call saying, hey, thank you for the extra income. But why didn't this developer get a hold of the neighborhood and say, this is what we're doing? I asked myself that question. I'm thinking, because they didn't want any feedback from the neighborhood. The young lady that came up here, she spoke at a couple of meetings. She's probably a wonderful gal. She cares about the low income, but she lives on the same street I do, Sunnybrook, 2.5 miles away from this project. She's not in the neighborhood. I'm down here all the time. I know all the neighbors. I'm a landlord that likes to know my neighbors and say, hey, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? How can I make this a better property for you to live by? And I'm friends with everybody in the neighborhood. And there is a parking issue with there. 0.86 versus 1.5 is a big difference. And the parking garage away, I'd like everybody to, when they go home tonight, to park 2 blocks away from their house for the next month, and then get up for work and walk 2 blocks to their car, and then park it 2 blocks away and walk home. You're not going to do that very often. And I think that's all I can say right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I think they had a hand up over here, yes? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Deborah Souza Oliveira. I'm a resident of Royal Oak for 6 years. I'm a single mom. I'm a person low income, and my lease is about to expire this July. And I'm looking for a place that's affordable in Royal Oak, and I don't see anything here. In the 6 years that I've been living here, I've noticed that the priority is to luxury apartments downtown Royal Oak. I've seen the built since I've been here, and I don't know why we don't prioritize low-income housing. Is it because of the social stigma about people like me? People like me work in your restaurants, we're the janitors, we're the housekeepers, and we need affordable housing because we don't get paid a whole lot. So I would really appreciate this affordable housing. Please allow it, and with the parking situation, we'll figure it out, you know? But like everything else, we'll figure it out. But we need more affordable housing. There's not affordable housing anywhere, not on the East Coast, not on the West Coast, and now in the Midwest with all this gentrification. I've seen Royal Oak being gentrified and pushing people like me and seniors out of Royal Oak. And I find it really unfair. And I'm a human being. I deserve to have my family grow up in a good community. My daughter and son are autistic, and we have services here. I shouldn't have to drive for miles, and I shouldn't have to be pushed to a rural area to get affordable housing. And I have to drive for miles and commute everywhere. No, I want to work here. I work here, and I want my daughter and my son to have services here. I want them to be in a safe community, and I don't want to be pushed out. I love Royal Oak. I want to be here. So please, have a conscience and allow this to be built. And whatever people say about the parking is not a problem. It's not a problem. Just please build the housing. We need it. We really need it badly. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anyone else who would like to come up and speak on this rezoning issue? Oh. Are you a member of the, are you on the team or are you a member of the public?
No. I'm a resident, so.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Kyle Hines. I live at 501 North Rembrandt Avenue, but I'm also here speaking on behalf of Oakland County. Oakland County, I serve as the Housing Trust Fund Manager, and we have allocated $5 million of ARPA and general funds to this project to help make it happen. I always say that we at the county, when we're supporting affordable housing and any sort of densities, that we have money for people, to invest in people and not cars and parking spots. I live at, like I said, I live at Rembrandt. I walk by there every single time I come in with my wife and my kid. We also park down here every once in a while if it's raining or whatever. And I've never actually once had an issue finding parking. Even with all of this development, it's always funny because I work with people and they're like, oh, I don't know how you live in Royal Oak, all the bad parking. I'm like, I've never actually had an issue with it. So for us to be able to provide affordable housing, you just heard the woman just before me. These are the people that actually make our economy work. These are the people that serve our families, that educate our families, that heal our families, and protect our families. You see it from all the way from 60% area median income, which in a community like this is basically unheard of. You are going to be trendsetters and probably win lots of awards for your care and oversight for the community, all the way up to 120, which is a young professional that's just starting out, that doesn't have money for a down payment on a home right now, so they can have that excess and only spend 30% of their income on safe, decent, and affordable housing here in Royal Oak. And they can mostly, I would imagine a lot of people are going to be able to walk and get rid of that car payment because they work, their schools are walkable, their grocery store is walkable, the place of employment is walkable. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that Oakland County has supported this to the tune of $5 million. We're excited for it to close. Like I said, we work all throughout the county, and I don't have anything that looks like this, that is in a downtown location that's such amenity rich, a place where I'm supporting. I live 0.71 miles from this, so I desperately want to see it. I'm here to tell you that, as a resident and Oakland County, we're very supportive of it. So I hope, I'm here to also answer questions if there are any additional ones based on like what I said about the county support. So thank you for your consideration. I know this is a few times coming back to this board and also the city commission. So I want to thank everybody for your support and help, and thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Is there any, over here, come on up.
You can change those pictures, right? On the screen there? Can you put the lights back up?
Can you do that? Yes, certainly.
I was looking at that screen and I saw a light up there, and it was a hooded light. It was black, and I thought, oh, that's no problem. But the other light, the one that's a tube there, yeah, that was the one I think you were talking about for the outside of the building, and that will project outwards. The reason that I'm concerned about that is because I live across the street from this building, like exactly across the street. And so if you did that, what you call, it looks like a wedge light or whatever it is, I mean, that would not be bothersome at all. Another question I have is, where do the cars go in and out of this garage? Exactly where is that? Maybe you guys can answer that. There's a driveway at the far end of the parking lot.
That's okay.
Where you get into that parking lot. Is that where that is going to be?
It'd be from inside the municipal complex lot, so.
Yeah, that was mentioned. It's from the drive where you come into the municipal parking lot.
Oh, right here?
Yeah, right
okay,
there, on this
okay,
side.
that's good. Third question, there is a like a maturing silver maple tree growing on the grass there by that far driveway. Are you planning on cutting that tree down for any reason?
I'm not sure which tree we're supposed to use.
Sir,
it's a big,
sir, hey,
maple.
sir, you know what? Why don't you state the questions, and then we'll have him come back up and answer the questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the other thing is, I've lived here for 31 years in that house, and I've enjoyed that parking lot across the street. And I am for affordable housing. I want to see that. And it's not a question of not in my backyard. I have no problem with affordable housing. But it's a problem here because of the parking, mostly because of the parking. And if you lived here, you'd know it. And what he said about walking 2 blocks every day as you go to work, also try to do that in January, carrying groceries, something like that. It's not good. And the parking situation here is, there's a lot of parking pressure, and this is just going to add to it. I did write the, not the council, but the other group we met with before. And I mentioned that 6 stories is just insanity. It just will not work here. I said, maybe 4 would work. So anyway, it sounds better than it did. But still, what really should happen with this parking lot is it should be a beautiful parking lot, like with trees and landscaping. That's what it should be. Anyway, thank you.
All right.
He can answer the question about the tree.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else in the public want to come up and talk about this rezoning? Well, I think you had your hand up first. Go ahead. Come on. Or he deferred to you, one way or the other.
Thank you. My name is Michael Aquilin, and I reside at 501 East 3rd Street, which is the property immediately to the east of the proposed site. I'm here in opposition to the proposal for a number of reasons, and many of them have already been stated, parking being a main one. There are a number of waivers that are going to be required for this project to come to fruition. And I guess my question is, the city has these regulations, they made them for a good reason, and now we want to waive them. Again, I have nothing against affordable housing, but we have a serious parking issue. I know where we're located, and somebody talked about it earlier. One of the waivers is the landscape buffer on the east side. It's supposed to be at least 6 feet, and that's because the property, which happens to be mine, is zoned 1-family residential. And what they propose is a half a foot, less than a half a foot. So what I'd like you to think about is waking up tomorrow morning, looking out your window and seeing a, 53-foot wall Again, the lot size, if I'm not mistaken, is a little over a third of an acre. There are many one-family residential homes that have at least that much land, if not more. So again, we're trying to squeeze in this huge housing project into a small location. There are some commendable things about this project, and I appreciate those. But this lot is simply not large enough. The construction would take up almost every inch of the lot. And again, parking is going to be a big problem. Every morning, every working morning we get up, we're not even able to park in front of our own house because people that work downtown get there at 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. One last point. The city road classification system identifies third and nose as local streets. Local streets are designed for low traffic volumes. The development would increase the traffic volumes significantly in the immediate area. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, he had his hand up before. You next.
Hi, my name is Sean. I'm a resident of Royal Oak. I'm also a volunteer with the Oakland County. I'm here to speak in support of this affordable housing project. We have a well-documented housing affordability crisis. This would give us 45 units to help address that. Again, as I've been in Royal Oak for a few years now, I've heard it every year we have a parking crisis. I have never had an issue. Most people don't have issues with parking. But again, most people have an issue finding housing. So I think we need to have priority here to build housing for people. To me, this is a no-brainer. The government is literally giving us money to build this housing. And if we don't approve this, we will lose that opportunity, again, to build 45 affordable units that we desperately need. Just to speak about the parking requirements, there was no science, there was no rhyme or reason as to why the parking limit was set like that. There was no studies, no nothing behind that. It was just an arbitrary limit set by the city. So I think that's something that we need to take a look at in the new master plan process, hopefully getting rid of that, if not severely reducing the parking requirements, especially for, again, affordable housing, which we need desperately. Just pointing out, I believe this was last year or the year before, at Royal Oak, we did a parking study downtown, the garages. If I remember correctly, at no point during the week were any of the garages even close to being 3/4 full. And that's during the busiest time. Most of the times they're less than a third full. So we have enough parking, but we don't have enough housing. This needs to be approved. And again, this is also part of the broken process for housing. So I would appreciate, if we approve this, this will still have to go to the city commission to get approved, which will be another delay. This is also one of the reasons why we have a housing crisis. It takes forever to build anything and to get approval for it. I'm sure you all saw the ZBA, we're here because the ZBA denied this for very arbitrary reasons, for ones that were not based in anything in reality, just because they wanted to deny it. So I'm glad that we're here. We're getting a second chance to approve this. Again, lastly, not everybody owns a car. A lot of people walk to work. A lot of people walk for their errands. This is a great place for that. That is a lifestyle a lot of people have. So again, I urge you guys to support this project because we desperately need the housing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Over here.
Hi, Jeannie Dolson, 126 North Connecticut. I'm a 37-year resident of Royal Oak. My only complaint was the parking. I think it should be a 1-to-1 parking because I think the more condos or apartment buildings that you give variances to and say, oh, you can park in the nearest garage, you can get a permit for the nearest garage. I think the garage by the library is usually more than half full during the week because Henry Ford employees park there. So my only complaint is parking, and I think the gentleman from 3rd Street is going to feel it too because that overflow is going to fill out on 3rd Street. Although my other thing is I agree with you on the lighting. I think that exterior lighting should be downward and not out. But anyway, thank you.
All right, thank you. Right over here.
Good evening. My name is Kay Aquilina. I live at 501 East 3rd Street, the house immediately to the east of the development planned. And I'm the matriarch of the neighborhood, I think. I've been here for 41 years. I've been active in and worked for the city of Royal Oak for over 25 years. I've been on boards and commissions, and I worked for the Oakland County Planning Division for a number of years. I was elated. I missed the last board meeting that met on the previous plan for this development. I think it was zoning board. And I was elated to find out that it did not pass. They did not approve it. Now, you've talked about it being approved. It was approved through the Planning Commission, I know. And so when I found out with the postcard in the mail that this development is now, before you again, I am very concerned about the parking. We live in a street that has terrible parking situation. The people do arrive early in the morning to park on the street and walk to town. Many are walking 4-5 blocks away to town. Some people come and park here and go on the train and leave their car in front of our house for a few days. If this is passed with this number of parking units per, or less than a unit per tenant, it will make our street a horrendous parking facility. People are not going to go to a parking garage if they have the availability of a parking spot on the street. They're going to say, okay, I can't park, in the parking provided at the unit, but I can park over here, and so that takes our spots. I was hit by a hit-and-run driver this last spring. Well, it was actually in March, twice, within 6 days. It was at night, people coming and driving, they were both heading west on 3rd Street. Is that right? West. Yes, thank you. And I was hit along the whole side of my car. I did the insurance quote, and then 6 days later, my hind end of the car was smashed in. And I was sideswiped a couple of years ago. So it's just a horrible situation. My time's running out. I also want to say we took care of all of those arborvitae that were the beautiful screen. We've watered them. They are perfect right now, and that's all going to come out, and I'm heartbroken. That's our only green space between the residences and the neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public want to come up and talk about this rezoning issue? All right, I waited a beat, don't see anybody, so I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to this side of the table. I ask the petitioner to come up and can fill in responses to whatever you want to respond to, including the question about the tree.
So as far as the specific question of the tree, I was looking at the Google Maps on my phone there, trying to figure out exactly the one that I think that we're talking about. So if it is the one that I think we're talking about, no, our plan is not to touch that at all. So I don't know if we have a version of it in the designs here, but it looks like, yeah, you could see that one tree. Is this the one that we're? Yeah. So the plan is not to touch that tree. So yeah, no issues there. The arborvitae, the greenery on the east end of the site, that will not be touched either. So yeah, those will remain.
All right, and that, ask a question, are those arborvitae on your property or on 501?
I believe it is not on our property. I don't believe that's ours.
Okay.
So yeah, you could see a little bit here where the exact property line ends.
Okay, that's,
I don't know if we
you
can
got
tell,
that survey
but-
for this project, so that
Yes.
should be accurate, yes?
Yes, yes. And as far as some of the other comments that folks have made in terms of parking and walking, and will folks walk a couple blocks from the 11-mile garage, what we see in similar situations to this is if there are folks who say, I'm not going to do that, that is too far for me, they will self-select not to rent at a location where the parking does not work for them. So it's very common to see in affordable housing specifically, and then in urban affordable housing, many people do not have cars at all. It's pretty common. We really don't anticipate any major parking issues, but it is nice to have those extra city garage spaces nearby. So I don't know if there were any other specific questions for us.
Sure.
Yes.
So you speculated about your ability to rent spaces in the parking structure for your tenants. Did you explore that same option in the city parking lot? At the adjacent city parking lot?
Right here, as part of the municipal complex?
Yeah.
We had various conversations with the city administration. I think the preference was not to have our residents park in the city public lot. We would be open to that if the city wanted to go that direction, but that was outside of our control.
Okay, thanks.
All right, other questionable way yet? Questions for the petitioner? I forgot my question. So, all right, sorry. Anybody else have a question for the petitioner or each other, or do we need to, Mr. Cooper?
I'm hearing again the question on the lights. I think we covered that earlier, so I think the thought was to look at something different that's going to be more up and down versus radiating out.
I think that was a great point that folks raised. So if that's a condition that you would like to put on, that it's downward, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Even a better cut sheet of what's there, of color, of knowing what it is. It says it's a rolled steel housing, so I don't know if it's rolled steel on the outside and the lenses are top and bottom. It doesn't really say, so.
I think that's correct. I think it is.
It says rolled steel housing, so there's two. There's a polycarbonate lens, so if there's a lens on the top and bottom, just a little more detail would be nice. So,
yep.
I think we covered that. Thank you.
Okay. Do we want to keep the petitioner standing here, or do we want to talk amongst ourselves? Questions for, I have a question, just to follow up on that, Mr. Murphy or Mr. Markham. What about the cities? I mean, one of the things about this, what we're hearing is, boy, this would be nice to do this. This is a great idea. However, we've got a couple of issues, and one of them is the parking. And wouldn't it be, it seems to me that you've got 39 parking spaces for 45 residents, or 45 units. All you need is 6 spaces to make it 1-to-1. The city has not considered that they might make a deal for 6 parking spaces next door. This is something, do you know anything about this? Just 6 spaces.
What do you mean by make a deal?
Like, say, you can park there and you don't have to have 4 hours. You know, right now, I think it's pay parking and it's a limit 4 hours. So you'd have to have an agreement that 6 of the parking spaces would be dedicated for the residents.
No, we have not had that conversation.
Okay, you don't have any comment about whether or not you think that's out of bounds or something they would think about?
I think the comment made earlier about if the city commission elected to enter into some type of agreement to that effect, they'd be tying their hands with reserving not only those parking spaces, but access to those parking spaces at all times. Think of how many activities and things occur where we commandeer the entire parking lot for something other than a parking lot.
Yes, and think about the balance here between having this development go forward and not going forward, because we're balancing things here, so I just bring it up.
If the petitioners would like to bring that forward to the city commission for their consideration, they're more than welcome to do that.
Okay, but the whole thing is balancing. There's nothing is perfect, and there's costs and benefits to everything. So there's going to be detriments, and there's going to be benefits, and this seems like there'd be a lot of benefits to this project, but there are some detriments. So I have another question. You go ahead first.
No, go ahead.
My question is, why is there a big old parking lot in the back of 501 3rd Street.
I can speak to that. This
Yes.
has been an issue with the Planning Commission in years gone by. There is an office building behind the courthouse in this, which is the closed Knoll Street. So that office building, they own that driveway. That office building uses that to access their building that's buried inside. So that the adjacent house, the blue house next door, their property line ends at the edge of that driveway, and all of that paved area belongs to the office building in the back. Also the arborvitae.
Oh, okay. So the driveway belongs to the office building?
Yes.
All right. And where's the driveway? Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. There's a garage there, so the 501 3rd Street accesses their garage from the driveway that doesn't belong to them.
Across another private piece of property.
Okay, understood. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Moore.
No, that was my question regarding the arborvitae. Is that section of Knowles completely vacated? It's part of the property of the office building? Because I think like many years ago there was some kind of a swapping arrangement. So is that always going to be there to separate these two properties?
Well, it's private property, so that the petitioner wanted to remove the driveway and do something different, but it's their access to their own parking lot.
So now it is considered private property. It's not
Absolutely.
like an alley or something like that. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about the parking and throw it out there for discussion among this body. 6 spaces short. I think the petitioner said something that, we need to, we talk about it with other projects, and I think it's even a little bit more unique here. It's a self-selection process. So if every one of those lessees want a parking spot, he's going to have 6 vacant apartments in there. We've seen this in other developments in the city where the petitioners come to us and said, man, your 2 parking spot per unit or 1.5 is really strong. We don't see that in the marketplace. We've granted smaller ratios, albeit not this low inside of downtown, but let's say further outside the downtown area where people may be more dependent on a personal vehicle. And quite frankly, we haven't seen issues in those cases. This case is even more unique because I think we have to change our mindset and think about this a little bit differently. We have a lot of stuff going on downtown. If you guys remember, like 12 years ago, we put together the Downtown Task Force, and our goal was to attract 182,000 square feet of office space. This was before all the work from home stuff. And we did that because we wanted to have daytime traffic for all of our retailers and whatnot. As a collateral benefit, these office buildings are full and people are working from home, but what's happening is you're seeing places close up in Troy and Southfield, and they're, they had 10,000 square feet, they're leasing 3,000 square feet, and they're being in a town that has a tremendous amount of amenities. An amenity is walkability. That's also an amenity that folks look for. And having a rich housing stock where they can not be fully dependent on a vehicle. And in this particular case, when it comes to the affordable housing, we have a lot of jobs, like the young woman that came here before, that keep our economy going in the city. And in a lot of cases, transportation is not required or even possible. $5 a gallon gas, automobiles are extremely expensive. Auto insurance in Michigan is crazy expensive. And so this is a self-selection for people who, 6 families who work in and around downtown Royal Oak. And oh, by the way, as some folks mentioned, you have grocery stores. I mean, I live maybe a third to 0.4 miles from this, and we can ride our bikes and walk to several grocery stores within a mile. So I think when we think about the parking ratio, if we're thinking about it from our own perspective as a single family homeowner where we are dependent on a vehicle to get to most places, for a lot of folks walking to work, at least 6 of those folks, makes a lot of sense, and it serves an important need for our business community. We have restaurants in this town that close off sections because they can't get anybody to come and work because they don't have transportation to come in. So if you can create an opportunity for a server, a bar back, a manager to be able to live close to where they work, I mean, that's the best transit plan you could have, and that's the best economic plan you can have. So I would really challenge us to think critically about, not the parking ratios, but the parking ratios for what they mean in this case in terms of self-selection and how it serves a downtown that's full of restaurant, retail, salon services, and office space.
All right. Other comments? Mr. Ellison.
Yeah, I'm going to jump into this for you a little bit. Royal Oak has got a very, very wonderful downtown, and a lot of people choose to move in close to it. It's a choice. It's a lifestyle choice. You've got the entertainment, you've got the restaurants, you've got all the activities going on. And so you make this choice that I want to live downtown, so I choose that house. Choices go both ways. Living next to a downtown comes with problems. You're going to have cars. You're going to have parking intrusions. You're going to have people intrusions. You're going to have all kinds of noise. It's going to come and be as part of that choice. So you've got to be willing to take the good and the bad. Now you've got a problem here. You're going to have some cars parking in front of your house. Well, the cars are on wheels, and they'll eventually go away. And so it's just the nature of a busy downtown. We're very fortunate our downtown is busy. But cars are always, to me, they're a temporary problem. They'll eventually go away. And you're not going to have them there 24 hours a day. Maybe some circumstances would say differently. But they're going to come in, they're going to park, they're going to go away. They're not going to be in front of your house all the time. So I have a hard time putting the kibosh on this project because of some parking issues. We need this project. We need some affordable housing for the people that work and live downtown, and this gives them that. I can't see, if you make a choice, I used to say this to the people that would complain when we were doing development on Woodward. They'd complain, my house backs right up to the house to the building you're developing. And I said, yeah, you're right. And I bet you paid less for that house than the house that's 7 houses in. That's the same, because you've got the intrusion of Woodward Avenue, busiest highway in the state. It's choices you make. You got to take the good and the bad. Sometimes the good is very, very good and will outwash the bad. Sometimes the bad is worse. You make another choice. But I'm going to be supporting this project.
All right, Mr. Gantina.
So, got a few comments. First is that projects like this are incredibly challenging to execute for a whole host of reasons. If this were a market rate project, not even on a downtown site, it would be incredibly challenging to execute. When you enter the element of affordability into it, the challenges get exponentially more difficult. It was alluded to earlier how difficult it is to locate projects like this in such a unique area within a downtown. And I think what it represents for us is a very unique opportunity to execute on a value that we have here in Royal Oak, which is to provide more affordable housing in an area, downtown area that makes it much easier for the residents to actually interact with the city and all the amenities in the city. So I think the chair was correct in the sense that we have to balance what we're getting with some of the challenges and difficulties that it brings. And in my estimation, I think what we're getting out of this project in terms of the goals and the values that we're trying to live within the city outweighs some of the difficulties. Primarily the difficulties of parking have been raised. And I want to address that a little bit from the standpoint of, I certainly empathize with all the residents on 3rd Street regarding their parking concerns. But those parking concerns are within the public right-of-way. And I use those terms very specifically because that parking within the public right-of-way is exactly that, available to all members of the public, everyone within this community, not just those that we deem are okay to park in those spaces because they live on the street or they live nearby. I understand it's a difficult challenge, but that's something that we all need to contend with in an urban setting in a city like this. Certainly, it's convenient to have that parking available right out front of our home, but the reality is it's a public right-of-way that this city is in charge of maintaining and paying for that infrastructure, and it needs to be available to anyone that needs to use it within the city. So I think this is a good project. I do, again, all these projects come with difficulties and challenges. I think what we're getting out of this project in terms of the affordability, the community benefits, outweigh some of the challenges and the difficulties around the project. So I'll be in support.
All right, other comments? I got a question. Good job. If I had a betting app to go on a betting app and bet this, I would bet you have to move those power poles to the north of the building.
Yes, sir.
You already have a plan for that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and I have a comment here. I appreciate the market argument, because I think that's true, that people will, rent a place or buy a place if it's a house that fits them, and hopefully they're going to assess the situation before they sign on the dotted line. I'm not sure they always do that. I'm not sure how management will deal with it if people don't. I also think there's the issue that these aren't all going to be one person in these apartments. You can have a couple in these apartments, and they might want to have 2 cars. So I think this is an area that does suffer parking issues, but the question is balancing this, because the benefits are pretty strong. I also want to point out something that hasn't been pointed out, but the adjacent properties, 501 and even where the office building is currently zoned 1 family. And in our master plan, we designate almost all the 1 family neighborhoods as for preservation. But there's exceptions, and this is one of them. This spot where 501 is on 3rd Street and the office building are actually designated on the future land use map to change to downtown zoning. So in the future, when we put our master plan together, we passed a master plan map that said in the future these are going to be part of downtown, not 1 family. Now, that's something that evolves over time, but that is the goal, and this would, of course, be compatible with that. So I would make that point. But, all right, I don't think I have any more comments there. Anybody else?
I'd like to make a motion. See if I can do this. To grant preliminary approval of the PUD. Staff maybe can help me with this. And I think you've got a contingency here that they come back within 6 months with their final plan. Mr. Murphy, how am I doing?
Correct. The Planning Commission can recommend preliminary or final at this stage. Preliminary is typically, and we kind of went through this more recently with the Kroger development at 14 Mountain Coolidge. Preliminary is generally associated with giving the petitioner acknowledgement of their use and their overall layout and design without all the fine details that they would need to provide thereafter with your final approval. Unless you feel that there's some fine details missing, I would hesitate that there aren't, that it would be more appropriate to make a recommendation for final PUD approval and that move forward to the City Commission.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I'm going to make a motion for a final final recommendation of the PUD as submitted to the City Commission with the contingencies as outlined here. And then I'm going to ask staff if item F, exterior lighting shall comply with 77096. Do I need to say anything more about making sure that all lighting faces down? Because I think that's in the ordinance. So that is my motion with the contingencies as outlined, and if there is a second, I'll speak briefly to my motion.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Gantina. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yeah, Mr. Murphy makes a good point. I mean, we've seen this plan. We've spent a lot of time with this plan, and the broad elements of it are what we approved here months ago, a year ago, and others have made the case that, and which I absolutely support, that we have an opportunity to provide an extraordinary place for people who maybe don't have the means to live in, at the Griffin, to be able to live in our city and contribute to our city. I would like to see the City Commission explore the possibility of making some of those surface parking spots available. I will point out that we routinely rent parking lot spaces and street parking spaces to restaurants for whatever the income would be for that period, for that period of time. And I'm think we could probably work something out with that parking lot. Again, knowing that we have special events and sometimes those parking lots are all used by those special events, and we would have to write that into the conditions. I do know and will advise the people here who live on Cherry Street that we have a traffic committee and citizens routine. And so I hesitate to make rules about parking before anything even gets built. I think we should wait and see as this gets built, see what issues may come up, and would encourage people to go to the traffic committee to seek permit parking on that street or any other restrictions if it becomes onerous. However, I don't think it will. And that's my case.
All right, thank you. The motion is to recommend approval of the PUD with, as a final plan with the listed contingencies on, in the staff report, second by Mr. Gontina. That's where we're at. Anyone else wish to speak on this? Mr. Mayor.
I'll say one note. You can do a Google search and check the sources, but when we start talking about the future, who's going to live in these units, I'm sure it's going to be a broad mix, but at some point in time, it's going to lean to the younger generations because we will all have passed. Interesting statistic out there about how Gen Z, they are significantly less likely to have a driver's license than my generation or even millennials. And so what you're seeing is folks are driving less. They're not requiring, they're not depending on vehicular transportation, and it's not like going from 90% to 10%, but it is going from like 90 to 80, 60%, 80% to 60% of 18-year-olds compared to my generation have driver's licenses. So there's a significant reduction for all the reasons. They're driving less, they don't leave their homes as much, they have food delivery, they have Uber. I mean, if you take the full freight of, the dumb decision when I had to buy a big family wagon, the car payment, insurance, fuel, and everything, I'm like, man, that's a lot of money. I could take like 3 Ubers a day and still be farther ahead of the game. Not a plug for Uber, I'm just making, a point financially. And so the cost of driving is expensive. I don't think, in fact, I firmly believe we're not going to see issues with folks, having 2 cars, 3 cars, parking on the street. I mean, the whole nature of, affordable housing is that if they're struggling to afford housing, they're certainly struggling to afford automobiles. So I really think that the nature of our downtown, I mean, the parking ratio is the big thing, but we're also solving a lot of problems as well economically in the downtown. When we get people closer to living to where they work, shop, and dine, it's great for our economy, it's great for keeping emissions down, and it's great for welcoming more people into our community to enjoy and celebrate everything that's great. So I really think this is going to be a good project, and it's going to be a very much a net benefit to the community.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to call for the vote, and I'm going to put to the vote whether or not you are in favor of the motion to recommend the PUD approval as a final PUD to the City Commission with the listed contingencies. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, congratulations.
Good luck.
All right. All right.
Chair, can we take like a 3-minute break since we've been at this since 6?
We're going to take a short 5-minute break.
Okay, perfect.
And we'll
Thank
be
you.
back. All right, we're going to reconvene the meeting here. We got the whole crew back, so we're recalling to order, and we're going to the next item of new business, which is letter B. It's a public hearing on a special land use permit and a site plan for SP 260507 on Woodward Avenue. Mr. Murphy.
This is the former Golden Basket restaurant. It's been vacant for a number of years. It's on the east side of Woodward Avenue, north of Normandy. And as you noted, they're seeking site plan and special land use approval, so there's public hearing tonight. They're looking to modify the existing building to accommodate a vehicle or an automotive rental agency. They're looking to take the existing building and create an overhead door on the south facade of the building to access the interior, to create a space, interior portion of the building for detailing or cleaning the vehicles as they come and go from the rental service. They are required to provide no less than 14 off-street parking spaces. The parking lot that they have shown in their site plan identifies 21 parking spaces, so they're in excess per the minimum. They may speak to the number of vehicles that come and go on a daily basis and how they plan to manage those in relation to the number of spaces that will be dedicated for employees, etc. But they are proposing to create a 10-foot landscape bed which will distinguish their parking lot from the adjacent sidewalk along Woodward Avenue. And you'll know that the engineering division is suggesting restriping of the parking in the Woodward Avenue right-of-way to accommodate better safety. And they're looking as a contingency, if you do decide to approve this, they would be required to install a raised concrete island to distinguish the travel lane in Woodward Avenue from the parking that's in the adjacent right-of-way next to the sidewalk. So again, this does require a public hearing. There first should be a motion regarding the special land use and whether they meet the criteria in the ordinance, and then you can move on to discussing the site plan. And if you choose to make a motion, there's a motion and they're specific to the site plan itself, but two separate motions because again, site plan and special land use approval is required.
All right. Are there questions for our director or for legal counsel at this time before we call the petitioner forward? Okay, I don't see any. Is the petitioner here? Come on up, introduce yourself, and tell us why you're entitled to the relief you're seeking.
Thank you. My name is Ashby Donahue. I work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I work out of the corporate office. I oversee property development for the state of Michigan. We are proposing to move to this location. We actually currently operate today a quarter of the mile down the road at 36674, which is the same zoning, which was also granted a special use years ago when we first operated. We've outgrown that property. We don't have where we actually wash the vehicles is too small. It backs directly up to a residential neighborhood where, for lack of better words, we may become a little bit of a nuisance. Just because of our lack of parking there, we only have 6 on-site parking spots at that location. We've simply outgrown it. So we're proposing to move to this location. Some of the benefits of Enterprise, just to give you a little history about our company, we're privately held, so this isn't a situation where it would be a franchise or a fly-by-night type deal where someone came in. We're set to specific corporate standards, which are audited yearly. We have 120 stores across the state of Michigan. We employ 1,400 employees across the state of Michigan. Last fiscal year, we had $28 million in local, state, and tax revenue. And we donated $1.2 million to local charities and philanthropic opportunities across the state of Michigan. So, it's the same exact use that we have today that was already approved. We're just simply looking to move so we can better service the citizens of Royal Oak and also help the residents who live behind where we currently are today, where at times, where we only have 6 parking spots, it's, even if it's 2 or 3 cars, you don't want rental cars sitting in front of your house by any means. So when we understand that, so we're looking for a solution that would benefit everybody.
All right, there are questions for the petitioner. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, so are you, is this a new, isn't there another Enterprise place south on Woodward, and are you closing that and moving here?
So we would relocate this location. The location that we have would be turned into an administrative function. We would no longer rent cars out of there, but we would still lease, and it would be an administrative function for us.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Ellison.
One of the issues we've always had with not only your facility out of Woodward, but also your competitors across the street, is on a big, like a holiday weekend, people bring cars back on Sunday night or Monday morning and they end up parked all up and down the street. What is your plan to mitigate that? You got enough, do you think just keep enough cars, it's gonna fill your lot, or are you gonna bring someone in to move those cars off the lot? Cause when I was mayor, I used to get calls all the time.
Yeah, definitely. So a little bit of both. So Enterprise is a little different than your other rental car companies. We're occupancy based, where the majority of them are also retail. So the majority of our rentals in the Royal Oak market will come from someone who's wrecked their car, or your car's on a warranty situation in a dealership. It's very light on retail, business rental, things like that. So it's occupancy based in a sense where we don't leave cars sitting on the lot for you to walk in and come and say, hey, I want that car. We have reservations throughout the day, and we have the cars brought in. We have an entire drive team based out of our corporate office in Farmington Hills who comes in and shuttles cars. We have all throughout the state, but out of Farmington Hills, they shuttle cars throughout, Detroit Metro, Detroit proper, to get the cars at the times that they're needed. So the same thing when they return. We also don't allow, on holiday weekends, things like that, we don't allow returns on the Sunday nights specifically for that reason, because we've been inundated with vehicles. We'd have nowhere to park.
You may not allow them, but they're gonna happen.
I'm sorry?
I said you may not allow them, but they're gonna happen.
Yeah, well, we have people that will come in on, we have drive teams that, we have we just actually this fiscal year started nighttime drive teams as well as weekends. So after hours right now, we have the ability to get in stores and move cars location to location for tomorrow's business.
Yeah, so. As much as anything, I just want to bring your attention to it because it could potentially be a problem if you haven't got space for your vehicles.
Oh, no, we logistically, okay. That's one of our biggest challenges is vehicle movement. So we're well aware, thank you.
Are you going to be increasing the size of your staff in this new location? It seems like it's a bigger building with a bigger parking lot. Are you going to be having a larger operation?
Yeah, so we employ 4 people there today. We potentially add an additional auto detailer or another, what we call like a ticket writer, the person who writes the vehicles. So yeah, we would look to add an additional employee. So there'll be some job growth there.
How many cars are you guys housing in that space on a daily basis right now?
So it's occupancy based, so every day is a little different. We don't have cars that will just sit there all day long. They'll typically sit there for about potentially 3 to 4 hours, then they go out. So we don't have a lot of cars just sitting all day long from 8 to 5. It depended upon the heavy reservations are on a Monday when a body shop will take in your car to fix it throughout the week, or a dealership like that. So, the most we probably have on the lot at a time sitting would be in the morning when we started, and that would be roughly probably around maybe 10 to 12 cars at a time on a high end. Because we're occupancy based, so we don't have like a Hertz or something like that has vehicles sitting at all times where you can walk in and say, hey, I want that car, we'll guarantee that car. Enterprise doesn't guarantee a make and model of a car, just a size of the vehicle.
So they're at your facility, they're just not there available to rent, they're already spoken for.
Correct, exactly.
Quick question, is this a knock down and rebuild, or are you gonna use the existing building?
We'd use the existing building. I believe in the packet there were some renderings that we want to do to the outside.
Did not see renderings?
I have them. Well, I have them. I brought them with me. If you want to just pass that around real quick, this is what we look to do to the outside of the buildings. But no, we got the entire of the inside, create a vehicle wash bay. It's not an auto wash, it's bucket wash like at your house. We don't do any on-site service or anything like that. Another benefit of Enterprise is that we do partner with local businesses in the city. So our oil changes, fixing the cars, things like that will be done with other businesses in Royal Oak. We don't employ people on staff to fix vehicles on site. We partner with local businesses to take care of that.
All right, I'm just looking at this because I heard that there was going to be a door on the south side, and I didn't really appreciate it when I was looking at this. So the door on the south side is going to be big enough to bring a car in?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
On the very back end of the building, the corner.
Okay. And you're going to resurface the parking lot?
Yes.
All right. All right. Where, just curious, so does Enterprise have a big storage lot somewhere outside of town that you have your drivers bring it in?
Yeah, so we have 22 acres in Detroit, and then we have another 10 acres that we're getting ready to take in, I guess you'd call it Inkster, on the Inkster-Taylor line. So,
All right.
Yeah, we have a whole team that their whole job is literally to just move cars from the holding lot to the lots for rental vehicles.
Okay, but they're not going to sit there overnight?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Mr. Moore.
So do you only take back vehicles that you have yourself sent out, or are you taking like airport returns or things like that where you're going to have larger volumes?
No, an airport would have to be returned to another airport. You could return to another location, but there's a fee and has to have approval. So vehicles are typically only coming from the Royal Oak office back to the Royal Oak office.
Okay.
Unless there was a situation where you wrecked your car in another city and they gave you that car in, let's say, Grand Rapids, for example, you totaled your car there and you live here, we would take that car back here in that situation. But
And then you have your drive team that immediately like moves it somewhere else so your lot doesn't come
correct, yeah.
overburdened.
Immediately would go back out to
Okay.
another location that needed the vehicle. We're what we call in the rental world a shared fleet, where a lot of rental car companies are not a shared fleet, meaning your store can only rent your cars. We can rent any car from across the United States, so we can move the cars out as needed to other locations whenever we need to.
Okay, thanks.
As part of your interior renovation of the building, are you going to be, I'm assuming you're going to be installing all the proper infrastructure to deal with all the runoff from the detail wash area, or how are you handling that?
Correct. No, we will follow all the city requirements for wastewater runoff. We'll install an oil water separator. We have our corporate office has its own set of requirements, which typically are more stringent than the city requirements. So we'll follow any requirements in that regard for sure.
And that'll be the inside, and the inside you'll have?
Yes, sir. All the vehicle washing will be done inside in a closed space. It wouldn't be visible to the public.
All right. Are there questions? All right, this is a special land use, so there's a public hearing. So I'm going to ask you to have a seat. And what we'll do is we'll open the public hearing. We'll ask the public to come up and we'll see what happens here. Is anybody in the audience from the public like to come up and speak on this special land use proposed? All right. Oh, come on up. We don't want to waste the time. We got to do this thing.
That restaurant has been vacant for years. I'm glad to see it's going to be developed, and Enterprise is a great organization, so I'm in support.
All right, thank you. I wasn't rushing, I was just saying, as long as you're here, you might as well talk. Okay, anybody else from the public want to come up and comment? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment and come back to this side of the table. I'm going to sort of follow up myself really quick on what Mr. Snow just said. I think this is a less impactful use than a restaurant, quite frankly. So that's my 2 cents. Mr.
I'd like to
Ellison.
move the special land use.
So there's a motion to approve the special land use by Mr. Ellison. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Moore. Okay, is there discussion? Mr. Mayor, he was faster.
Yeah, I have a question for former Commissioner Douglas. I thought the Golden Basket was going to be a 4-story marijuana shop with a drive-through for, I don't know, part of one of the 42 marijuana shops that are going to be all over Woodward. Did I get this wrong?
As of last night, you're adding tattoos and massage.
Oh, that's true too.
Any day now.
I didn't know it was vacant. I thought it was like imminent that there was going to be a multi-story. Okay, all right. I just wanted to clarify that. But really, all jesting aside, Mr. Snow brings up a good point. This has been vacant for a while, and Woodward is a challenging environment to get space leased up at times. The way it's chopped up, it's not always perfectly sized. The parking can get a little wonky, things of that nature. So I think this will be a good use. It's an amenity for our residents. Yep. We've all been in a fender bender, most of us have, and Sometimes we need an extra car from time to time, so I think it's a good amenity to have this near us, and Woodward Avenue seems appropriate for this type of activity, and the petitioner has proven that, they're not keeping a big stock in flux. It's more of a, reserve and take versus, a large inventory of cars that can sometimes have overflow issues. So I think it'll be far less traffic and than a restaurant that was there formerly. The hours will be close at 6:30, and which is, I think, closes earlier than what the restaurant had formerly closed at. So I think overall the impact to the neighborhood will actually be less.
All right, Mr. Cooper.
I'd agree as well. I've lived with Enterprise. They're on my street. I can attest that they have about 10 to 12 cars. They just don't have space for them and their employees. And I despise them probably just about the same as Starbucks. So it will be a welcome move to them putting or going to a more appropriate space. I think the size is adequate. It works well. The ingress, egress for them. It's going to keep them contained and not into the neighborhood. So I think it's a great fit.
All right, Mr. Moore, you were going to say something.
Yeah, but besides forgetting the neighboring pawn shops, you forgot that too. I think this is a great proposal that solves an issue with their current location. And, has been mentioned, I've seen the cars on neighboring streets, and you can tell they're rental cars. And I think having adequate space for them is one of the biggest benefits of this proposal.
All right. And, okay, and I would only say I've actually rented from the rental, from Enterprise on Woodward, and I've been there, and this looks like this will be a better, less constrained spot for you, so. All right, any other discussion on this? All right, the motion by Mr. Ellison, second by Mr. Moore, is to approve the special land use only. We still have the site plan. And I'm going to call for the voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Very good. So your special land use is approved. And now we're going to talk about the site plan. Mr. Ellison.
Mr. Chairman, I move the site plan as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the site plan as submitted. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Moore. All right. Is there discussion? Well, there certainly is. If the petitioner can come back up.
I was going to say, there's got to be some lighting.
There's going to be some lighting issues because as it sits right now, as I'm sure you know, that the lighting on site, other than the two on the side of the building, does not conform with our code. What are you going to do about that?
We will add whatever lighting is required for the city, or whatever approved, whatever measures you would like. We want as much lighting as we can get obviously for security, so it's lit. And
I am aware that car dealerships and other places who have cars that are very valuable like to have as much light as possible, but our code covers it adequately. If you meet the lumens, I think it's actually candlelight or whatever, in the code, there'll be plenty of light. And the pole lights today are not shielded. The light off the back is just a blasting, mercury vapor light.
Yeah, wall pack.
Yes, and so if I'm going to approve the site plan, then I need to know that your lighting is not going to be just as light as you can make it, but is going to be shielded. And if you meet the code, there'll be plenty of light and plenty of security. And I urge you do not need more than the code.
Okay. Yeah, we will. Whatever the city recommends and would like to see is what we would do.
Okay, it's in the code. Okay. Mr. Ellison.
Put this question to Mr. Markham. I jumped the gun on this motion, forgetting that we had that presentation. Is there a way to pull the motion off, or can we just slide with it and modify it as we need it?
The special land use motion?
No, the motion. I made a motion already on the site plan as submitted. It sounds like we need to make changes.
Well, we don't necessarily need to make changes because what the recommendations includes the site plan contingencies, which includes you have to meet the code.
Yeah, I meet the code, okay.
In this particular site plan, they do not provide a lighting plan, though. So I wanted to make sure that the petitioner is aware of the code and that it's important. It will be important to the backyard neighbors too, because they don't want that light flying in their backyard.
I'm just concerned, the motion is still good then.
I think so.
To answer your question, it's contemplated in the general code requirements, and there's no variance being requested, so your motion is appropriate.
Okay. So, yeah, and let me just say this for everybody to hear. If everybody complied with the code, Gary Casada would not bring this up every time. But people don't understand the code, they don't pay attention to it, and even the architects don't always pay attention to it. They leave it to they say, oh, the guy from Gasser Bush will take care of it. Well, but then the guy from Gasser Bush comes out and says, oh, you need the brightest light in the history of the world. That is not what we want.
Okay,
Yes, we just want you to meet the code.
we'll do that.
All right.
I just wanted to comment. So on sheet A000 on here, it does have some general notes of stating the codes it's going to meet. There are some lighting notes, so they're identifying some parking lot lights, saying parking lot lighting pole lens to be limited to 250 watts, all lights to be shielded from adjacent property and right of way. There are some exit lights that are noted in a parking lot. There's nothing specified on there, so it's partially covered, but I think we just want to put the general notes stating that.
Certainly.
We're going to meet city requirements.
Appreciate that. The designer here put it on the drawing. I'm always a little nervous what happens between this table and actual installation, however. So that's why I bring it up. Okay. Any other questions for the petitioner? Okay. Hearing none, you can have a seat. And is there further discussion? All right, seeing none, I'm going to call for the vote on Mr. Ellison's quick motion to approve the site plan with the stated contingencies. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for staying in Royal Oak.
All right, next order of business, whoops, I buried my thing here. Next order of business is C. This is a public hearing and the special land use and site plan for SP 260508. This is on Leafdale Boulevard. Mr. Murphy, can you explain this one to us?
Yes, it's on the east side of Leafdale Boulevard, which is north of 14 Mile Road. It's in the property itself and the surrounding properties along Leafdale are in the industrial zoning district. Petitioner is seeking, as noted, site plan and special land use approval to modify the existing vacant light industrial building to accommodate a vehicle dealership. There will be, as noted in their plan of operation, there's no service of vehicles, there's no repair of vehicles on site. An automobile dealership is a special land use in the general industrial zoning district, but the uniqueness is that our ordinance requires them to provide an on-site repair or service facility. So their plan of operation says that they won't have that. That's one of the variances that if they're approved tonight, they would need to seek a variance from that provision. They're looking to install a new overhead door along the front facade of the building, and they'll have a very narrow 9.5-foot wide drive aisle that leads to their central drive aisle. And I'll direct your attention to the site plan on the screen, and you'll see first, let's look at the aerial photograph. Currently, there's a front lawn with a tree that was there. The tree's since been removed, and then there's paved over right-of-way. No landscaping in the right-of-way. The petitioners removed that tree in order to accommodate, again, an overhead door so that vehicles may come and go from a very narrow drive aisle in the front yard. The grass that separates that narrow drive aisle from their property line is a very minimal at most, and so that doesn't meet the minimum required distance or required width of 20 feet for a drive aisle in front of the building. That would be an additional variance that they would need to seek. They're required to provide 6 parking spaces in the parking lot itself. You can see that they provide for 4 parking spaces. There are certainly vehicles that will be stored within the building, but those don't count towards the the calculation in our ordinance requires there actually be parking, non-dedicated parking not for vehicles for sale, but otherwise parking spaces available to customers and to employees. Again, 6 is required and they're providing for less than that. They'd need a variance. This is a public hearing, and as the last item, it's appropriate to first consider a motion for the special land use approval before you move on to considering the site plan and all of its specific natures in a motion.
All right, so I think I understand all that. I think the door has already been installed there.
Yes.
But you're saying that they're not gonna drive out over the sidewalk and into the street. They're gonna take a hard left when they come out, or hard right when they come in.
That's correct, and that's reflected. I'm going to first show you the area, the front view, the Google Street View. Again, there's a central drive aisle currently alongside the building. There's a drive aisle, and there's a landscaped area. That landscaped area is significantly reduced in their design, and there is that little offshoot of a drive aisle so that they can, with a very tight turn, bring vehicles in and out of that front overhead door, which has been installed. You're correct.
And I have another question. I read this and now I'm forgetting. If they had a repair shop on site, would it not be a special land use?
No, we require that as to be an automobile dealership. An automobile dealership in the industrial zoning district is a special land use. One of its criteria is that they must have a repair facility or service facility on site. Typically, when we think of automobile dealerships, we think of something more grandiose in scale. They can describe to you their plan of operation on how they feel it's a more of a boutique business plan compared to a traditional car lot.
Okay, and if they had the repair in there, how would that have changed the?
They wouldn't need a variance.
Oh, they wouldn't need a variance.
That's all.
Okay, very good. All right, Mr. Moore.
My concern is for pedestrians on the sidewalk with that door coming out. Is there something that's separating the, I guess, drive aisle that they're using for maneuvering and that sidewalk, or can they, I guess that I'm having a hard time finding on the site plan is any kind of a separation.
Just sod.
Okay.
No landscaping. They're not proposing any landscaping, shrubs, trees.
No kind of barrier or any kind of
no
curbing?
screening wall, no nothing.
I would just say, just as a comment, that there's many buildings on that same side of the street that have a garage door right in front, and those people are driving over the sidewalk. So there's no barrier there.
Well, yeah, but there have been other developments where people put in a garage door at or near the sidewalk where they've been required to put in alarms or some kind of light notification or something. I mean, just because buildings have been there for years doesn't necessarily mean that.
Yeah, my only point is this is a less likely to run over somebody than the other buildings on the street there, where you just open the door and drive out. Here they got to turn. I'm just making the comment. I was there today.
Not much room to turn, but.
There's two. Okay, well, maybe we should call the petitioner up and they can tell us all about it. So why don't you come on up, introduce yourself, and tell us why you're entitled to relief you're seeking.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Daniel Ackerman. I'm here on behalf of IMDA Motors, along with my co-owner, Ian Mailer, and our architect, John Gardner. Ian and I are lifelong Metro Detroit residents and longtime automotive enthusiasts and collectors. Our activity buying, locating, and selling exotic and collector automobiles has grown, and we recognize that Michigan law limits unlicensed vehicle sales. Rather than operating close to that line, we decided to formalize properly. We formed IMDA Motors LLC, obtained dealership insurance, which is already in force, and are here tonight seeking the approvals needed to operate lawfully in Royal Oak. As an attorney, I understand the importance of doing things right, and that is exactly what we're trying to do. Our operation is intentionally low impact. We are an appointment-preferred dealership specializing in exotic, vintage, and collector automobiles. We will not encourage walk-in traffic and do not anticipate it. Nearly all of our buyers and sellers are located out of state, so in-person visits to the premises will be quite rare. All vehicles will be stored indoors, no outdoor display, a maximum of 8 vehicles on the premises, and 1 employee on site. No mechanical work will be performed at this location. Regarding the servicing facility item, we've entered into a servicing facility agreement with Kurtz Service, a repair facility in Oak Park, less than 5 miles from our location. The agreement is already signed, and we are happy to provide a copy to the Commission this evening. This satisfies the requirement under the ordinance and eliminates the need for a corresponding ZBA variance. Regarding the front overhead door, rather than a traditional hard surface driveway, we propose reinforcing, and this I should get into a little more detail, or I'll help go through this with John. But when we were chatting with the planning department, I guess it was too late to send revised drawings and plans, but we want to propose reinforcing, rather than a traditional hard surface driveway, proposing reinforcing the existing green belt with a subsurface plastic PVC grid system. The grid would be installed beneath the surface with soil placed above and grass planted on top. A natural looking lawn that supports vehicle weight without damaging the surface or plantings. We also want to address the suggested masonry screen wall in the report. We respectfully submit that such a wall would effectively render the door unusable. A wall within that setback would leave only roughly 12 feet of clear space between the wall and the building. Many of the cars we deal in predate power steering, making low-speed maneuvering in tight spaces difficult or even impossible. 12 feet of clear approach is simply not enough to safely guide one of these cars through a garage door opening without risk of damage. We believe the subsurface grid and lawn solution achieves the same landscaping and aesthetic goals without this conflict, and it would exceed the minimum required ordinance greenbelt. Accordingly, we ask the Commission to consider this as an alternative. Please note that we expect on average less than 1 vehicle movement per week through that door. This is a secure, quiet indoor storage and sales facility on a non-residential street. This will not be a busy commercial lot. We are committed to satisfying all applicable conditions of approval, and our team is here to address any questions you may have concerning the business operations, the site, or the building. We appreciate the Commission's time and the thorough review the planning staff has provided. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, don't go away. Mr. Moore.
I understand the door is already there, so maybe this is, pointless, but why not out the back of the building? Why did the door have to be in the front?
I mean, some of this predates my tenancy in the building.
Okay.
But I will say that my understanding is that there were a few issues, first of all, with vehicles coming and going, where certain perhaps structural or electrical beams were, whatnot. I don't want to get too far into that when those were sort of decisions that might be both outside my pay grade and also preceding my tenancy, as I mentioned.
Okay.
All right, and I would just say there's two steps here. We're going to do a special land use, so we're looking at the land use, and then would be the site plan. So 2 different things. Yes.
If you don't mind, I just want to also respond that we have the same issue with, the whole idea is with turning around and navigating in the back. I will mention it is without power steering, as we mentioned, like those turns are very difficult. So I can't speak to that being the full synopsis, but the fact is the front entrance does make that way easier when you can basically tilt it in and tilt it out.
And as long as you got that picture up, if I understand you correctly, where the tree is, which is now gone, you're gonna do is that the area that you're going to have the plastic grid on, or?
Yes, that is correct.
So you're not going to have a driveway, you're just going to have a reinforced grid there?
Correct.
Because you're not taking cars out every 20 minutes, you're taking them out once a week or something?
Correct, yes, super infrequently. And the whole purpose here, I guess to give some background, for instance, in Ann Arbor at the golf course, some of you may be driving through it for parking on game days. They do the same thing with certain parts of, I believe, the driveway, but anyhow, the fairway. I'm not a golfer. So anyhow, I mean, it's something that's been used to allow cars moving with way more frequency than what we're planning on. But I mean, we're just in the game of trying to stay above, causing any disturbances here. So this came up after we submitted these drawings as something that might be a little bit easier for the city to understand. And we're very flexible, as mentioned, if there's other ideas too, we're open to it, but this so far seems to be the most effective solution.
Okay, that's really a site plan issue, but the question was going to come up anyways. And then the other thing is, as long as we're on it, across the sidewalk, you're going to put turf there.
That was the plan in this drawing, because we were going to be losing, and John, please let me know if I'm missing on any of the details here, but I believe this was partly going to be there because we were going to be losing the green belt. And now, if we aren't required to do so, I'm happy to have a larger conversation about it to see if it's still needed. It would be our preference to not need to do that, but...
Okay, we can talk about that more in the site plan, because I think there's going to be some questions about that then. But that's the site plan. What you're saying is, when we get to the site plan discussion, you're going to say, we don't want to put grass here.
That's definitely a preference to not have that requirement.
Okay. So I won't get ahead of ourselves here, because we're still on special land use here. All right, are there more questions for the petitioner about I have a question for you. You were saying variances. What variances do they need? You didn't give us a chart like you usually do. So if we approve the special land use, they are still got to go and get a variance, yes?
Yes, I'm going to bring up, if I can find it.
You're a victim of your own efficiency here, because without the chart, I'm lost.
So we do list in the recommended contingency for site plan approval, again, if you choose to move forward with site plan approval, we do note some necessary variances, and they would be from the provision to provide a service center on site. The petitioner did indicate to you that they have a contract with a nearby service facility. That fulfills a state licensing requirement. Our zoning ordinance indicates is different from the from the state licensing requirement. Our zoning ordinance requires that a repair facility be present at the location.
Okay, so they still need a variance
still
for that.
needs a
but
variance
that's-
from our ordinance
That's
provision.
a site plan thing, not...
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And then
to 770-44C29.
I don't know the number, the letters off the top of my head, but apparently you do.
I believe so. Sorry, I wish I printed it out to bring with me, and I don't have my computer or that with me at the moment.
Okay, for the special land use, we just need to, if we give them the special land use, which we don't need to consider the variances for, then we'll talk about the variances. Okay, I got ahead of myself. Sorry about that.
Public hearing. Do we hold a public hearing?
Yeah, we have to have a public hearing. This is special land use, right?
We already did that.
No, we did not. All right, any other questions for Mr. Cooper?
The grid system, I think it's a great idea. However, in winter, it gets a little nutty, because if you're plowing, you're ripping all that up. So just a thought, I'm assuming, depending on the type of vehicles you're moving, but imagine you're not going to be doing them in the winter? Okay. That's what I figured, so that's just something to keep in mind.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions before we open the public hearing? Okay, please have a seat.
Thank you.
All right, so if anybody in the audience from the public would like to come up and speak on the proposed special land use for this car dealership without a repair shop, please come on up. Now's the time. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and we'll come back here. And what's facing us is the special land use. Are there comments, more questions for the petitioner or for staff?
Sorry.
Move approval of special land use.
All right, so Commissioner Douglas has moved to approve the special land use. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Gantino. All right, it's on the motion is on the table to approve the special land use. Any further discussion of this? I see a head shaking there. Anything down there? Okay, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. All right, your special land use is been approved. Now we're going to talk about the site plan. And do we, okay, so come on back up here because I have a question for you right off the bat. So we obviously have the street view here. A lot of people use that easement, I suppose that's the easement on the other side of the sidewalk, to park cars on, like park their trucks and stuff on. If you get this site plan approved and you put your grid there next to the building, and you're going to ask that we delete the requirement to landscape or put a lawn on the easement?
That would be our preference if it's acceptable with you all.
Okay, well, we got to talk about it.
I understand.
All right, I just want to make it clear. And then there's also the issue about the gravel parking lot in the back. What is going to happen with that?
We are going to be going with concrete millings as a form. Usually, we were planning to propose. I believe we proposed concrete millings that would be put in place there where we can mark out the handicap spots. It would effectively be. It should be the same as a typical concrete driveway, but it would have a little bit more permeability, just because we did have concerns with water retention and drainage. So that's something that we discussed. Although, to be honest, I mean, as we've sort of alluded to, I don't really think that lot will ever be used. I think that's going to be just a locked door that we might occasionally open when needed, but anybody who's going to be coming to visit is going to be calling ahead and scheduling an appointment.
Okay, but you were going to park your own car there when you drive there to work, unless you're walking.
Yeah, I mean, I'd either park there or I'd park right in front of where the locked gate is right now. You know, if there's just one or two cars, I'd probably park on the driveway. But I understand, of course, we need the way the parking is listed, we need to have it behind.
All right. Okay, Mr. Murphy, I should have asked you if you had any comments about the site plan.
Specifically, the right-of-way between the roadway and the sidewalk, the city engineer, that's the city's public right-of-way, and so the city engineer always encourages modifications comply with the city's engineering standards, which would necessitate the removal and the installation of landscape material like sod or grass seed and possibly trees. And that's a contingency. Contingency number 6 identifies the city engineer's comments with regard to that area that's currently asphalt. You can look at the Google Street View or
Yes.
aerial imagery, and you'll see that that space between the sidewalk and the back of curb in all along that street has been graciously paved over for a variety of parking and deliveries and what have you over the years by adjacent property owners none of them have ever received approvals. It doesn't make for a great situation when vehicles are parked there, especially large vehicles. For vehicles exiting sites, it provides limited vision. And you'll see from the imagery that the parking on street is fairly limited, and it's in high demand, high use. That's why you see a lot of those areas between the sidewalk and the street paved over.
Mm-hmm.
It's less than a perfect situation.
All right, and some of those areas have grass and even a tree, but yes, I see that there's a number of them that got paved over. But, okay. All right, so are there other questions for the petitioner about the site plan? Because right now the contingencies are that they're going to landscape that. There's nothing in here about taking out the driveway and putting in the grid. Do we need to address that?
If that's something that you want to modify, based on the petitioner's comments, it's appropriate to indicate contingency number 6, contingency E, landscaping and screening shall be depicted on the site plan or is otherwise noted by the planning commission. So I would, if you're in agreement, if someone wants to incorporate that into a motion of approval, that the proposed concrete drive aisle in the front setback be removed and replaced with a geotech grid to allow for appropriate drainage and otherwise sod. I see a hand raised down there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just say on the sod option or this grid option, I'm even less thrilled about it because as you're walking along and you see grass there, you're even less likely to think there is going to potentially be an automobile coming across there. Just walking in that area, I mean, at least if you saw pavement there, it might trigger you to be a little more careful than just grass area. Just my thoughts on that.
Okay, and my thought, you can see there, my thoughts are that they're taking a left out of there and all these other people are just driving across the sidewalk. I mean, you have your heads up in an industrial zone. I don't think it's, myself, not to argue with you, but I don't think it's much of a danger. And these guys are using fancy cars that they're treating with kid gloves and they're not roaring out of there. They're probably, pushing them for all I know. Go ahead.
Well, I guess I'll just offer up for discussion if the plan for the rear parking area, excuse me, is to use the concrete millings or some other permeable surface that's gravel or something else is acceptable to us. I guess I would maybe offer up for discussion, not to redesign your project, but to maintain permeability, a similar solution for that driveway area so that there is a visible delineation of what is a driveway. It still maintains permeability. It may even be less landscape area for you to have to maintain. If you want something a little more aesthetically pleasing, it could be a decomposed granite or something along those lines that still affords you a hard surface driveway, affords permeability, is visually delineated, and maybe is a good solution. So I'll just offer that up for discussion.
Yeah, and I'll just say, I mean, part of my hesitation here is one of the variances that's listed that they have to seek is not meeting the minimum required dimensions for vehicular access to that front facade. So I'm not just being difficult about it. It's just something that I think that we need to consider for safety of anybody who may be walking in the area.
Okay. I think that the tightness of the door would mean they're going even slower, but I went out to the site today and looked at it. So that's how I formed my opinion there. But I got another question. I don't understand about the concrete, what did you call it?
Concrete millings.
Tell me about that because I don't understand it, and that's not what, item 6 says all paving, I think is going to be in accordance with the specifications, and I think you guys want to see that paved, right? The back area.
It needs to be hard surface per the zoning ordinance requirements, and there are alternatives to traditional asphalt or concrete, and they've had conversation with city engineer, and the city engineer finds that material to be acceptable. It's compacted to a certain degree that it in effect is a hard surface material. It's just not your traditional concrete.
Okay, so if we were to approve this language in contingency 6 would cover that sort of conversation with the department?
The last one? All paving?
No, isn't it number 6? Oh, maybe not.
Let me bring it up on screen. They would need to apply for engineering permits, and I don't see that being any objection.
Okay, all right. So it sounds like the only thing we're dealing with here is the front, not the back, as far as, okay. All right, and we're still debating that. All right, any other discussion? I'll just say, I would be in favor of what's being proposed. I'm not making a motion, I can't, but I think that if they want to put the grid there, which I don't know, what's the name of the grid system?
I've seen a few names for it, including the subsurface plastic PVC grid system. Grass protection mesh. There's a rock guard.
Subsurface PVC system, we'll go with that.
Thank you, sorry.
Okay, so personally, I would be in favor of letting them do the subsurface PVC system and then approving the site plan with all the other contingencies that's listed. That would be my preference, but I can't make a motion. Mr. Gantino.
Along those same lines, I would be inclined to support what's been presented with regards to the asphalt curb area adjacent to the street. At the same time, I don't necessarily want it to become grass or something permeable that's then just going to need to be maintained and possibly just wither and die. So I'm a little bit torn on that one in the sense that if we do make them put grass in that area, they're going to have to probably run irrigation or something out there to make sure it's maintained or in some way maintain it. And I'm wondering if it just becomes a little bit more onerous at that point.
All right.
Yeah, I appreciate Mr. Moore's concerns about pedestrian access, but at the end of the day, I don't feel very strongly about that. I don't see it as a major issue, and I do like the, what did we call it, subsurface PVC, something.
System, yes.
I like that. I've seen that used elsewhere, and it seems very effective, and it does give you a little touch of green there, but still gives you a harder surface. As for the right-of-way, I'm sitting here and thinking you should plant clover there. Because once you get the seeds established, you may need to water it sometimes, but you never need to mow it. You get the right height clover and you never need to mow it. It's sustainable. So I'm getting a big thumbs up there from Mr. Sustainability. So, I mean, that's where I'd go. So that's my opinion.
Did the contingency say it has to be lawn, or does it just say, it says with grass, seed, or sod? So we might have to.
They can work with city engineer.
All right. Okay. So that's an interesting suggestion there. Okay, so where are we at here? I don't think there's a motion. There's still a discussion going on. What kind of cars are we talking about here? Are you talking about like a Bugatti or something? Are you talking about a little old Porsche or what are you talking about?
We kind of have a mix. I'm here with my business partner, Ian, and we have our overlapping interests, and then we both have our unique interests within our own spaces. So our shared passion is 80s and 90s, up through the early 2000s, Italian cars, primarily Lamborghini.
Yeah, Hummers.
No. Primarily vintage Lamborghini. For me, my lifelong passion has always been pre-World War II Rolls-Royce. Hence the lack of power steering and struggles to navigate small spaces. But frankly, if it's an eccentric vehicle that infrequently functions properly, then I'm probably interested in it.
All right. Very good. All right. So what are we going to do with the site plan? Mr. Gantino.
Well, first I just want to check and make sure there isn't any more discussion. I'm prepared to make a motion. So I'd like to move approval of the site plan with the modification to contingency C.
Don't we got to do the special land use first?
No, we already did it.
Yeah, okay. I was asleep.
Are your hearing aids in there?
You made me second guess myself. All right, so move approval of the site plan with modification to contingency 6 to allow for the subsurface PVC grid for the front drive area and consideration for allowing an alternative to grass seed or sod in the landscape belt area to the front.
But leaving the landscape requirement?
Yes.
Okay. So the motion is to approve the site plan permitting the PVC subsurface system as well as alternatives to lawn. Okay, that's the motion. Is there a second?
I will second
Second by Mr. Cooper. Is there more discussion or argument, statements, or whatever? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor of the site plan approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Don't suppose I can interest you in a 55 Ford?
I'd be happy to chat after the meeting.
I was going to say, I'm excited to make an appointment just to check out the collection at one point.
Seriously, we are diehard car enthusiasts. You reach out and we'll be happy. And my wife knows she has to cut me out of every conversation that involves a car at some point. So this will be no exception. Reach out anytime. Thank you, everyone.
Very good. Congratulations. All righty, now we are on new business 5D. This is a public hearing special land use permit and site plan for SP 260509 on Maple Avenue. Mr. Murphy.
This site is located in the neighborhood just west of downtown. It's in the city's one-family residential overlay district. They're seeking site plan and amended special land use approval for the material modification of the existing three-dwelling structure. So I'm sure that everyone remembers the conversation that we had back in January, the report and the discussion regarding the overlay district and its complexities. And we noted one of the things is the definition of a material modification. So the creation of the overlay district does grant properties that had a rental license for 2, 3, or 3 or more units and limited number of commercial structures with special land use approval, and it recognized them to be conforming to use, off-street parking, setbacks, and density. But it did identify in the zoning ordinance what material modification means. And once the material modification threshold is met, it does require individuals to come in front of you for an amended site plan, a special land use approval, which is why the petitioner is here in front of you today. They were issued in March a stop work order from the building division of the Community Development Department because of some work that they were doing to enclose the existing, as was existing, and you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, the photograph in January of this year showed what was a unenclosed covered front porch with steps, and that was in existence in that condition for quite some time. Again, the stop work order related to the image you see on the right-hand side of the screen, which the petitioner was trying to enclose the existing unenclosed front porch with windows and a front door. They also provided some drawings to show that they'd be removing those existing concrete stairs. They would be putting in a new required per the building code landing when you walk out the new front door to a landing, and then a set of new steps that go down to the sidewalk. So that qualifies under the provisions in the zoning ordinance with regard to the overlay district as a material modification. So again, they're here seeking an amended special land use permit, which does require a public hearing and a consideration of that special land use permit. As we talked about back in January when we discussed the overlay district in general, we noted many of the intricacies of the ordinance. I'll politely call them intricacies. Yes, and nice. I'll state that it provides the Planning Commission with a wide discretion when reviewing these requests for amended special land use permits. There's very little latitude for staff to provide a signature of approval for internal administrative approval to these types of material modifications. So that is why this is appearing in front of you tonight.
Can we, if nobody else has a question for Mr. Murphy, I do. Can we walk through this? You listed the material modification standards, and I was a little bit interested to hear what you had to say about this. Standard A, this is on page 204, says an increase of residential density. Does this increase the density? Second was, or an increase in the floor area of a commercial building. Is this a heated space? Is this going to increase the floor area?
Well, it's not a commercial space. It's not a commercial space. Are you referring to B?
No, this is the second part of A.
Oh, no.
Okay, so let's go to B. A modification of the exterior appearance of the structure that would, quote, reasonably be expected to reduce the property value of nearby properties. Is this what's happening? This is going to reduce the value of nearby? I just got to tell you, in this neighborhood, there's all sorts of enclosed porches in this neighborhood.
Yes, those are the intricacies that we discussed, that staff presented that 20 whatever page report on in January, and what we discussed extensively.
Okay, but there's a subjective decision here. Did the staff decide that this would reasonably reduce the property value of
We believe that we were unable to make that determination, and that discretion is left to the Planning Commission.
Okay, let's go to C. A modification that will have some other demonstrable adverse impact upon one or more family residential uses in the neighborhood. That also has a subjective aspect to it. Did you find that this was demonstrably adverse, or are you leaving it to us?
That discretion is left to the Planning Commission.
I see. So what you're telling me, if I understand, that's why I want to walk through it, is that the staff said there's a subjectiveness here that isn't mechanical enough for us to apply, and so therefore it has to go to the Planning Commission.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, are there other questions before we bring?
Just move the land use right now. Oops, sorry.
No, I thought you had a question.
No, I was just speaking to my neighbor.
Oh, okay. All right. Are there more questions? Yes.
No, I was actually going to make a motion, but I want to make sure there's no.
Well, we haven't heard from the petitioner, but we probably, and it's a public hearing. Is the petitioner present?
Yes.
Would you please come forward?
Oh, don't make them do that.
What? This is what we have to do.
No, we don't.
We don't?
We don't have to.
The only thing we have to do is allow for public comment.
Public hearing.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you need to tell us anything for the special land use?
No, we're just here to seek permission. I appreciate your time.
Okay, you can have a seat down. I have to open the public hearing here. All right. Is there anybody in the public here in the audience like to come up and speak on this special land use issue? Okay, seeing none, I'm closing the public hearing. Is there any more discussion on this side of the table? Are you making, or is somebody making a motion? Who's making? You go ahead.
Did you have something?
No.
All right, so I moved to approve the special land use permit based on what you just pointed out. I do not feel that it meets any of the criteria that makes it a material modification, so I believe that they should get the special land use permit.
Okay, is there a second? Are you seconding? Okay, second by Mr. Moore. Motion by Mr. Gantina to approve the special land use, and second by Mr. Moore. Is there any discussion of this beyond what we've already discussed? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the special land use say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there's none. Congratulations, you have a special land use. And now we're going to talk about the site plan. I'm going to turn back to Mr. Murphy and ask him if there's anything in particular you want to talk about the site plan.
No, it's perfunctory.
All right. So the director says that the site plan discussion is perfunctory. So I guess we should keep that in mind.
Move approval of the site plan.
Second by Mr. Moore. Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Douglas to approve the site plan with the listed contingencies, and second by Mr. Moore. Is there discussion of the issue? Hearing none, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, very good. You had to wait till the end, but congratulations.
Sorry you had to go through that.
Yep.
We're trying to fix this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for sticking with us.
Yeah.
Hopefully
All
we
right.
saved you some steps at least.
They can get their building permit now.
Okay. All right, good night. All right, other business, we have non-action items. What do we have here?
You have a report that was distributed from the Road Commission for Oakland County. It's their quarterly report.
All right, anything else?
No.
Okay, so before we get to the adjournment part, are there any commissioners who'd like to put anything on the record or make a statement? Okay, I do. Okay, so what we, well, we had a number of people, there are at least three, I think 2 or 3 people came up today, and they said, hey, that Cherry Street ice cream, I have something to say about it, but it already happened. And I just want to put on the record that I already talked to Woody about this, is that our site plan criteria is all about what effect, not all about, but a lot of it is about what effect you have on the neighbors. That's what we're looking, that's part of what we're looking at. But our ordinance doesn't require that when there's a site plan, we tell anybody about it. We don't give notice, and it's not a public hearing. I just want to say, to me, that doesn't make sense. If you're gonna analyze and assess and evaluate the effect on neighboring properties, you would think that it would be of value to have the people who are the neighboring property owners give us feedback.
Was that a special land use?
No.
No, it was just a site plan. So what we had a suggestion in the past from a member of the audience that at the very least we ought to put a sign up and say, hey, there's a special, or there's going to be a hearing on a site plan here. We could do that if we don't want to send notices. But there should be, to me, when we're writing our new zoning ordinance, we ought to consider the fact that we're evaluating something without the input of the people who are actually the people whose interests we're evaluating. That doesn't make any sense, and I would like to talk about that as we go forward.
If you want to raise the rates and apply for a permit, I'm sure we could nail 300 for like everything else.
Well, but we could even do something less than that by putting a sign up in the yard, which would cost $20, and say there's going to be a site plan review here in 2 weeks or something.
But do we have the ability to promote a site plan? I mean, I know we put a sign up there for a special land use or for a public hearing, but can we just put a sign in front of our house saying they're going to build something here? It's really...
Well, that's what I'm saying. There may be other steps, but right now, in a situation, and you just saw the effects of it, is that those people who lived there on Cherry Street said, hey, what just happened? I didn't get a say. And I think that doesn't conform to me with the intent of our ordinance, which is to evaluate the effect on the neighbors. That's my position.
So that use is permitted. I mean, that's why we didn't have to have a special land use. I mean, that's what zoning does. It says what functions, what activities can take place in those places. So there was going to be an ice cream shop there no matter what. The site plan really is just about that very limited tiny space and how it's configured. And I see our city attorney nodding his head vigorously in support of my position.
Well, I disagree with the attorney then, because here's the thing. The criteria specifically says what about the effect on the neighbors? It's not just confined. I'm going to say, if we just confine the site plan to what the site plan maybe conforms to the ordinance, that would be one thing, but that's not what the ordinance says.
Gary, if you're going to buy a house next to industrial or commercial space, be prepared. I mean, that's basically all it is. If you're going to butt a commercial space that's going to develop and change and move and have parking, and you're that first house, you made that choice.
True, but my point is different. I'd like the procedure to conform with the substance.
I think this is great conversation that you're going to be forced to have in a very short while and make some very executive decisions that will affect an ordinance for the future. So keep all these things in mind, and when you become sheepish in conversation, I will remind you of the time that we spoke up at this meeting and get that ball rolling again.
Will you bring us ice cream that night?
You've got quite the vocabulary tonight there, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I said my piece. Does anybody else want to put anything on the record? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Mr. Grantina. Is there a second by Mr. Cooper? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, motion passed. We're adjourned.
Good for you.